Today we have lesson 10. This lesson will have part 1 and 2. We'll review some concepts that we discussed in lesson 9 regarding strings and functions. I want you to understand those things clearly, because many things in C are done with strings and arrays, and there is a lot of confusion about that. So what I will do is we'll ask the first question, which will be, what is a string? And in particular, what is a string in C language? When we say string, we usually refer to a sequence of characters, and in most cases they write it as a double quote and then some characters and another double quote to close it. So a string that we will deal with is going to be a sequence of characters, and the way we'll describe it is starting with a double quote and ending with a double quote. So we know that in between the quotes there is the string itself. The quotes don't belong to the string. So now, in the C language, it's not so simple to deal with strings, because there is no concept of a string, but there is a concept of a character, which I already show you. If I define a variable char A, then I can say A equals, and then single quote, and any character that I want, another single quote. So the variable A will contain one character, which is the number 2, which is here surrounded by a single quote. So there is a difference between a character and a string. Character, you see that I designate with a single quote, and when we talked about a string, I designated it with a double quote. So how do I define a string in C? What I have to do is I have to define an array of characters, and we'll do a small review on arrays in a few seconds, but let's say I'll call it B, and then with an array I give a size inside brackets, square brackets, and this is a definition of B, which is an array with 10 elements. Each element can contain one character. So after I define this, I can say B of 0 equals H, and then I can say B of 1 equals quote E quote, etc. So I can enter one character at a time into this array of characters, but there is another way to put something into this array, which we will see in a couple of minutes. But for now, I just want to do a review of arrays. So if you remember, when we spoke about arrays, we said that sometimes there is a need to define more than one variable, and a variable can contain a number or a character or other things, but a variable is limited, because let's start with an example. If somebody tells us that we need to read 10 numbers from the input and then square each of the numbers and print them. So if we need to do it with variables, the work that we do will have to be a little bit tedious, because if let's say we said that the numbers are integers, so we'll have to define integer. Let's say we'll call it A1, A2, A3, etc. up to A10. Okay, so we defined 10 variables. And then we'll have to do scanf to read from the input. And for each one, we'll have to give it a D format. And we'll have to give the address of the variable. So this is reading one number. To read another number, we need, again, the same thing. And here we'll have to change from A1 to A2, and we'll have to continue doing that, you know, for all the 10 numbers. Now 10 is not such a big number, but imagine if we had 100 numbers or 1,000 numbers. Our program will be very complicated, and then when we want to print them, or we want to print the square, then we'll have to do printf and then give it the format again and give the name of the variable. A1, same thing with A2, right? Copy this one and paste it here and change A1 to A2, and we'll have to continue doing it more and more up until the last one, which will be A10. So we did a lot of work here. If we wrote all the commands, we would have 10 times scanf and 10 times print. And if we had 100 variables, that would be 100 times scanf and 100 times print. Actually here it's not the number because I wanted the square, so it would have to be the number times itself. So just to make it according to what I said, doesn't matter for the real action. But anyway, with an array we can solve this problem quite easily and elegantly, and all we'll have to do is define integer a of 10, and then the scanf will just be a loop. I can do int I equals 0, I less than 10, plus plus I, and then inside I do scanf, and here I do address of A of I. So that's the trick. A of I, and I changes from 0 to 9. So the first time it will be A0, then it will be A of 1, A of 2, up until 9. And the same thing for the print. I will do a loop for the print. And all I have to do is print %d and A of I. Again, I will run from 0 to 9, and this will have the same effect as what we did before with 10 scanfs and 10 prints. So this is the help of the array, that we can index each and every element. If you think about an array, you can think about a train. It's like a train that has a lot of cars. Each car is a variable, but if we take the whole train, we can reference each and every car independently. Okay, so the rest will be in the part 2 of this lesson 10, because we're running out of time.